Welcome back to the Fit 40 podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition for busy people over 40 so they can improve their health and feel amazing. I'm your host, Brian Fitzsimmons, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach for people over 40 since 2015. And today we have another awesome topic lined up for you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right. The topic this week is going to be how to restart your fitness after vacation, because as you guys know, I went on vacation last week, and basically as this stuff is happening, I want to teach you guys in my own experience, but also stuff that I know has worked for people and we've seen the proof. Okay. So how to restart your fitness after vacation. Let's first start with what most of us do. Most of us go really extreme when we get back. We're like, okay, I'm going to exercise my ass off. I'm going to eat perfectly. I'm going to make sure that I lose all that weight that I gained, and we're going to make up for the bad decisions. Bad idea. Bad idea, because that always results in some sort of like what we would call a failure, or it results in the plan not going as well and burning out and feeling crappier, and then increasing the amount of guilt around all of this. It just creates that restrict binge cycle over and over again. We push it way too hard, and then our bodies fight back and say, hey, screw you. We want more calories. We want to not feel like crap. So it makes you want to eat more. It makes you want to not do the things that you're supposed to try and get some sort of normalcy. And it's just this vicious cycle that just never, ever, ever ends. So let's put a few reminders out there. Number one, you have nothing to make up for. Okay. You weren't bad. You were enjoying vacation like a normal human being. There is nothing wrong with doing that. It's 1 week, maybe two out of the entire year. 2 weeks does not outdo 50 good ones. And you will feel bloated. Okay. You will feel out of shape when you get back. These are normal things, but that does not mean you lost all progress. Okay. Because if, let's say, for example, we're trying to lose body fat, we need an excess of 3,500 calories-ish to gain a single pound of body fat. Okay. When you get back from vacation after eating like crazy or eating differently than you normally do, you're going to be holding on to a whole lot of water. You're going to be having a lot more carbs in your system, in your muscles, being stored in your liver, being in places that it normally isn't, because we're not eating at the same quantity. But is that fat? No. It just means that your body's storing this in a bunch of different places and holding on to that weight that comes with it. And as you get moving, as you get back into your routine, it fades away. That's why you shouldn't even touch the scale. Like if you do utilize the scale, don't even touch it for bare minimum, at least 1 week of getting back into your normal routine. All right. So what do you do when we're talking about this normal routine? Okay. Get back to at least 2 to 3 days of strength training. If you have to, get at least one, but do something to get moving. And if we need something even easier, or in addition to that, 5 to 10K steps a day. If we can get in that 5 to 10K range, your body's going to start doing its thing, using all those things that I just talked about, and you're going to lose a lot of water weight. You're going to utilize that glycogen, and you're not going to feel as bloated. You're not going to be as heavy on the scale after doing that. And another thing that helps too is utilizing and reincorporating mostly unprocessed or minimally processed foods, because with those foods, one, there's a whole lot less salt. Two, there's a whole lot less calories. And three, there's a ton of awesome micronutrients, which we usually don't have quite as much of when we're on vacation. We're not loading up on the fruits and veggies and lean proteins. We're having the stuff that we eat on vacation. Like sometimes we go a little overboard. I know I do. I eat 2 family-sized bags of Doritos, and I'm proud of it. All right. I'm not ashamed to say it. But you know what happened when we got back? Right back into the normal swing of things. And guess what? Weight didn't budge. So there's your proof. All right. So no extremes, no cutting out sugar, no cutting out carbs, no going keto or going carnivore, or jumping right into Whole30 because you feel like that's what you have to do. Okay, just let your body do its thing. It will do its thing, and you will bounce back. And one big thing, like one anchor habit that helps everybody with this, is having a bounce back day. Okay, so when you get back from vacation, the quickest you possibly are able to get that first good meal. Okay, get that first solid workout in. And then as an added bonus, just get everything in order. Like do your laundry, do the dishes, make sure that things are prepped for the week. So you're like, okay, I got a clean slate. I feel good. We are back. And then when you're in that place, everything's just easier and you're back on track super fast. In comparison to what most people do, which is they feel like crap after vacation and then it kind of lingers for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and maybe months. And then that's where the damage is done. So if you get back to it ASAP, you'll be A-okay. Now, that's just my 2 cents on this. I know this is being filmed during our weekly Zoom session, and I think I'm going to keep this going forward. And for the reason I want you guys to chime in. So anybody here who's on the call that wants to chime in about their own experience with vacation, whether they've been guilty of these things or whether they've utilized these strategies and been like, yeah, it definitely works.
So the one thing is like you said, the rebound day, and don't step on the scale for a week because you give yourself that transition time back, and that's absolutely true. Because you come back, you get on the scale, and you're like, oh, I'm up 10 pounds. Then you're like, well, that's what you just said. It's all carbs and water weight. Give your body time to get back to normal, and then you're back to where you started.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, when you guys went on vacation, didn't we see something crazy like a 10-pound swing one time where like we legit lost about like maybe just under like 7 or 8 pounds in a week?
Oh yeah, that was recently when we went up to Canada for the weekend. I had a bunch of poutine. I can't speak for Courtney, but and then I stepped on the scale. Was it after when we came back because I was just poor timing, and I think I was up like 8 pounds. And you're like, well, really, only 1 pound of that is fat, and the other stuff is just your body holding on to the glycogen and the carbs. And then sure enough, like a week went by, getting back to everything, and it was back to normal again. And I was like, all that worrying for nothing. Just go enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Well, I love you guys sharing your experiences because I mean they're powerful. It's very tough to believe this stuff. Anybody else have any experiences with this? Maybe on the other end of things where they like restricted and saw the negative effects of trying to do too much too soon.
I'll go again.
Go ahead, Derek.
So when I first started with you about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, we went on vacation the first time, and I was pretty strict like the first 3 days, and I was kind of miserable because everyone else was having a good time and I wasn't, and I didn't let my hair down and just enjoy because I was worried about the what was going to happen from vacation. I didn't want to fall behind, and it just ruined the trip. So
Yeah. And
it doesn't hurt to go wild.
we don't get enough opportunities to take these trips where we can just like throw them away like that. It's not worth it. I know I was doing a bodybuilding prep during one of my vacations and I hated myself for having a few M&Ms. It's like it's in that case it was worth it because it was a bodybuilding prep, but yeah, it's not fun being that person on vacation where everybody's like poking at you like, "Oh, you're on a diet." Anybody else want to chime in before we go into BS or no?
One more time, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So when we used to be big, her sister-in-law was bodybuilding at the time too, and she was weighing everything, and it was kind of like bringing the whole vibe down. It's like you really got to do that on vacation, but now from the other aspect of it, it's like I understand, but it's also vacation. So
Yeah. Yeah, it all depends on what the goals are. Like if you do have a time sensitive thing, like where it's a competition, yeah, totally makes sense. But it's like if you're on a health journey, it's a long-term thing. Let's treat it like a long-term thing and let's accept the fact that it's not really going to do a whole lot. All right. Last call. Any others? Up, Courtney?
So Derek kind of stole what I was gonna say in a sense of like if you do have to go into a vacation and you're worried about it, it makes the vacation way more stressful than it needs to be. Vacation sometimes if you have especially if kids is already stressful enough, you don't need to add that extra stress in there of worrying about staying perfect. But also like again with doing the work beforehand, I feel like the last time I went on vacation, I didn't go super crazy because it's like I didn't need to. I didn't need to fulfill that because I'm like, if I get a little bit, that's fine.
Yeah. And speaking of the stress, I mean, when you add on the stress, usually you make worse decisions anyway. So it's like it ends up backfiring. And just by taking a chill pill, you actually end up sticking to the plan a little bit better than you otherwise would have.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then to piggyback off her real quick, you kind of feel like you're a hindrance or a nuisance because everyone's like, "Oh, is this okay to eat? Like, are you within your calories? Can we not go here because you can't eat this, or we don't want you to tempt you?" And then everyone's kind of held back because you can't eat that, and it's just like that's not fun for anyone else.
Nah. And it's a group thing. Vacations, like, let's all have fun. Good points, guys. Anybody else? Or are we just so ready for BS or no? All right. Here we go. Now, my favorite part of the meeting, BS or nah. If you heard anything from a coworker, saw it on social media or the news or anything, and you're like, and it was fitness or nutrition related, and you're like, this kind of sounds like BS. Let me know now. Let's talk about it. There are no dumb questions or answers or topics. Courtney.
Okay, so mine is not really something I saw on social media, but just in general, like when you go to the doctor, they have that lovely BMI chart. I would love to hear your thoughts on the chart in general.
Yeah, for medical purposes, very good. Like in a population setting, like if we're talking about having to apply something to millions of people across the board and make recommendations as far as like dosages go and things like that, yes, very good. But when it comes to like categorizing people as like obese, for example, and you are active, which puts you in the minority, which a lot of people don't realize, like you're in a very small percentage. If you have any appreciable amount of muscle mass, that will mess up your BMI because it adds to your weight, even though it doesn't come with the body composition that most people get with that weight that they're putting on. It could result in you showing up overweight or obese when you otherwise might not be if you were to go by like a waist measurement or a body fat measurement. So if we're trying to really figure out where we're at as far as body composition, those are more of a gold standard when it comes to like overall health, especially the waist measurement, because that tells us a lot about central fat accumulation, where when we're looking at like the midsection, like our chest and our belly, that's where the visceral fat is. And we want to bring that number down really, really low, not to the point where our organs are not protected, but we want to get it to the point where it's not harmful high levels. And that's where a waist measurement can come in really handy, whereas BMI would not give you the same accuracy or the same reliability. And I can only say that after being with my fiance who's a doctor for that long, because that was like one of the first things I was like, BMI is bullshit. And she's like, well, it kind of helps us. But good question. Anybody else?
So just going off of that, then what is actually a good BMI for, let's say, a male? What's a good BMI for a female?
Well, it depends what good means to you. Like, are we saying, oh, if this number means that we're super healthy? Because you may have a BMI of like 30 and be a lot healthier than somebody who's got a BMI of 28 because, yeah, 28's a little overweight. They might be like a little bit skinny fat and they might be like a smoker or something and their health is absolutely horrible. But you're a BMI of 30 and you work out really a ton and you have a lot of muscle mass and you just so happen to be that heavy relative to your weight. So it's a very incomplete measure of like of health. So it depends on what good would mean.
In other words, don't take it in isolation. Use it as like it accompanies other data.
Absolutely. And if we look at it at a population level, like, and we take it to where it's applicable, it's like, yeah, if you have a BMI of like 35, chances are you're not a physique competitor or an Olympian level bodybuilder where it's like, yeah, you're in that outlier. Like if you have a BMI of like 35, 40, 45, 50, like, yeah, that's not a good thing. So on the ends of the spectrum, it's very much like a good indicator, especially if your BMI is too low too. So you might be underweight, which then puts you at risk for things like osteoporosis and sarcopenia and stuff like that. So then you don't want to be at that end of it either. But if you're in the middle, it leaves a lot up for interpretation and you need more data points to make a more accurate interpretation. But good questions. Any other BS or not? Just let me know if I need to unmute you guys. Oh, there we go. Marissa Bell.
I went for a walk with a friend. We walked 3 miles last week, and she was she was telling me that she lost because she lost like 80 or 90 pounds. And she was complaining that she lost some body mass. And I told her, you need to track your protein intake and you need to do weights. And she said that they use some weights in Pilates. And I didn't know how to answer that because in my gut feeling, my gut reaction was to say that's not enough because you're not going to build muscle by doing 2 pounds here, 1 pound here.
And I am so proud of you for thinking that, because you are absolutely true thinking, or you're absolutely right thinking that it's not enough, because it's not. This is why a lot of times, like, people will, in the strength space, will call out people that are in Pilates trying to say, oh, because you're using resistance, that, oh, this is all you need. It's not even close to what people need to put on the amount of muscle mass that actually improves their health. Will it make them feel a whole lot better? Yes. Like, will it strengthen up certain areas and probably help their joints feel better? Will it like result in them moving more than they otherwise would, so that they just kind of get the blood pumping and get the benefits from activity in general? Yes. But it is nowhere near enough to create the mechanical tension and the progressive overload that's required to put on muscle mass. And I'm talking the amount of muscle mass that will improve your insulin sensitivity, that will take pressure off of your joints, that will do all these amazing things that we want it to do. And you're right. You can't do that with like 1 pound or 2 pound weights, because if that truly is enough, where you're hitting that mechanical tension, where you can't do another rep because you're hitting that technical failure point, or you're coming just short of that, and you're not, like, you need the progressive overload as well. So you need to be doing more. If you are hitting that point with 1 or 2 pounds, you're going to hit the most you could get out of that very fast, because after like a session or two, your body's going to be like, well, this is doable. Like, now that we coordinated everything and we figured out, okay, I do it this way and it doesn't burn as bad, then guess what? As soon as it's no longer hard, it's no longer causing an adaptation in your body. So you're not getting anywhere near what you need for all the awesome benefits that come with more muscle mass. And don't get me wrong, I love Pilates, especially in conjunction with strength training, because it's an incredible back and forth. Same as yoga. Like, I love people doing both, but a lot of times yoga and Pilates are an incredible starting point that people get stuck in. Whereas it should be a good starting point where they then transition to more specific strength training. Kind of like in Greenville here, like, there's a yoga studio, Yoga Strong. Me and Sam chat about how, like, sometimes people need that next step, that little bit more. Like, Dave and Mary Jane, they were at yoga and then they came here and they're like, we want to take strength training to that like next level. That's what a lot of people should be doing, where they get moving, they get going with something they really like, and then they level it up. But unfortunately, people get lost in the sauce and they're like, this is all I have to do. Whereas they're really doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Of course. That was a good one. As soon as you said Pilates, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Well, she said she does Zumba and Pilates, and I'm like, Zumba is cardio. It's fun cardio, but it's just cardio.
Yeah. And I will say this, if, like, for some odd reason, incorporating strength training just makes them so miserable that they stop exercising altogether because they're like, oh, well, I should be doing this, and they're trying to force it, and they just kind of fall out of love with exercise in any form, then I would say Pilates and Zumba are the way to go. If that's the only thing that keeps you on track and keeps you moving, that is 1,000 times better than force feeding strength training and quitting completely a month or two later. So that's why I like doing both, because then when you do the strength training along with Zumba and along with Pilates, those actually tend to feel better. So you're like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I could do these Zumba moves without as much pain in my knees, or I could do it for longer, and then it kind of feeds off each other. Now we got the juices flowing. Anybody else? All righty. We are on to the next thing. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you got a lot out of it. Before you go, I just have one quick small ask. Just take 2 seconds and leave a 5-star rating, give it a like on YouTube, or share this with someone you know will benefit from it. Thank you so much in advance. I'll see you in the next episode. But until then, go kick some ass. Bye-bye.